I shouldn't have looked inside his drawer, but what I found, those explicit videos with him in them, made it impossible to hold back. When I confronted him, I was expecting him to hand me the camera and say, "Your turn." Please hit like and subscribe. Comment below. Ever found something that changed the way you saw someone forever? I never planned on snooping, honest. But when I walked into our shared apartment after a long day, I noticed his bedroom door slightly ajar. The small gap was enough to catch my eye. And before I knew it, my curiosity took over. There it was, his drawer half open, a slight mess of clothes and papers inside. But something at the back caught my attention. A small black USB stick, barely noticeable, yet glowing with that unspoken promise of secrets. I hesitated. I told myself to leave it alone, but the pull was too strong. I slid the drawer open a little more and took the stick. My heart was pounding already. Back in my room, I plugged it into my laptop, hands trembling slightly. The folder popped up. Videos. His name. My breath hitched. I clicked the first file. The screen lit up with him, alone, confident, completely uninhibited. The way he moved, the way he looked at the camera, it was a side of him I'd never seen before. No roommate messiness, no lazy grins, just raw, sensual, electric. I blinked. My mind raced. Who was this person? And more importantly, what did it mean for me, living just down the hall? My fingers hovered over the mouse, frozen. I shouldn't have watched, but I couldn't stop. I wasn't sure how to bring it up. The USB sat heavy in my pocket, like a secret waiting to explode. When he finally came home that evening, I found myself standing by the doorway, heart hammering in my chest. He kicked off his shoes, eyes meeting mine with that familiar casualness. I swallowed hard and held out the USB. He raised an eyebrow, then smirked. "So you found it." My cheeks flushed. "Yeah, I did." He stepped closer, voice low, amused. "I figured sooner or later you would." I blinked. Why do you have those videos?" His smile softened, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his face. "It's just me being me. A side I don't show everyone." Then, with a slow, deliberate movement, he pulled out his own camera, the one he'd used to film himself, and held it out. "Your turn," he said. The room felt smaller. My breath caught. Was he daring me, testing me, or inviting me in? All I knew was that nothing between us would ever be the same again. The words hung between us. "Your turn." I stared at the camera in his hand, feeling its weight more heavily than I ever expected. It wasn't just plastic and lenses. It was an invitation, a challenge, a door opening into something unknown. My mind raced. What did he want from me? Was this a test or a game? Or maybe something more real, more vulnerable than either of us dared admit? I glanced at him. His eyes weren't mocking or judging. They were patient, dark with curiosity. There was an unspoken promise there. No pressure. Only what you want. My fingers brushed the camera hesitantly, then closed around it. The cool surface grounded me as I took a deep breath. "Okay," I whispered, almost to myself. "Okay." He stepped back, giving me space, but his gaze stayed locked on mine. I pulled out my phone and flipped on the camera app. My hands trembled, part nerves, part something else I didn't want to name yet. I hit record. The red dot blinked steadily. "Hi," I said, voice shaky but honest. "This is me, doing something I never thought I would." I paused, feeling the heat rise to my cheeks. I told him about how I'd stumbled on his secret, how it shocked me, how it made me see him differently. I talked about the quiet parts of me that I rarely let anyone see. When I glanced up, he was watching me like I was the only person in the world. "Your turn," I teased, trying to steady my voice. He smiled, the kind that made your stomach flip. "Not yet," he said, voice low. "I want to hear more." So I did. I talk about the nights I lay awake, imagining what would be like to let go, to be seen fully. I spoke of the electric tension I felt whenever our hands accidentally touched, the way his presence filled the room even when he wasn't looking at me. He didn't interrupt. He just listened. And in that silence, something shifted. I wasn't just his roommate anymore. I was someone he wanted to know, really know. At night, after the video was saved and the screen went dark, something between us changed. Hours later, there was a soft knock at my door. My heart skipped. I opened it to find him standing there, eyes softer than usual, hands shoved in his pockets like he wasn't sure what to do next. "I want to see the real you," he said quietly. The words caught me off guard. We stepped inside, the apartment suddenly feeling smaller, more charged. We sat on the couch, close but not touching, the silence thick with things unsaid. Then he spoke, sharing parts of himself he never mentioned, his fears, his desires, the moments he'd kept hidden even from himself. I listened, mesmerized by the honesty in his voice, the vulnerability in his eyes. When I finally found the courage to reach out, my fingers brushed his hand, light, tentative, electric. His hand moved to cover mine, warm and sure. The simple touch sent a shock through me, breaking down walls I didn't realize I'd built. We sat like that for what felt like hours, hands entwined, breath slowing, heart sinking. It wasn't about rushing or pressure. It was about trust, the quiet, powerful kind. And in that moment, I knew nothing would ever be the same. I never expected something so simple to feel like an earthquake. We were in the kitchen, late at night, the kind of quiet that settles over a place after everyone else has gone to bed. I was making tea, fingers fumbling slightly because my mind wasn't really on it. He was behind me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off his body. Without thinking, his hand brushed against mine, a light, accidental touch. My breath hitched. I froze, the cup slipping a little in my grip. He didn't pull away. Instead, his fingers curled around mine, gentle but deliberate. I glanced up. His eyes were fixed on me, dark and steady, full of something I couldn't name but wanted desperately to understand. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. I nodded, though my heart was pounding like a drum. There was no rush, no pressure. Just that quiet moment where everything else faded, and it was just us. I wanted to pull back, but I didn't. Instead, I leaned a little closer, letting the space between us shrink. It was the first time I really felt it. The electricity, the promise, the weight of what could be, and I didn't want it to stop. The days after that night felt different, like we were both waiting, trying to figure out what to do with the invisible thread, now pulling us closer. One evening, we ended up on the living room floor, a bottle of wine between us and a playlist humming low in the background. He laughed at something I said, that easy, genuine laugh that suddenly felt like it was only for me. I caught his gaze and held it longer than I should have. "Do you ever think about us?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. His eyes flickered, then softened. "All the time," he said. That simple confession sent a warmth blooming through me, deeper than desire, something tender, real. I reached out again, this time letting my fingers trace the back of his hand. His skin was warm, and when he turned his palm to hold mine, I felt like I was finally home. We stayed like that for what felt like forever. No words, just a quiet beating of two hearts learning to trust. And as the night stretched on, I realized this wasn't just about heat or curiosity anymore. It was something more. That night felt like it was pulled out of time, a slow-motion moment where everything was sharper, the air, the sounds, the way our bodies responded without even needing words. We'd been drinking a little more wine than usual, the playlist fading into silence as the clock crept past midnight. The apartment was dim, lit only by the soft glow of the streetlight sneaking through the curtains. We sat closer than ever on the couch, knees touching, breaths mingling in the thin space between us. He looked at me, really looked, like he was trying to memorize every line, every shadow, every flicker of emotion I try to hide. I swallowed hard, feeling my heart pounding so loud I was sure he could hear it. Without thinking, I reached up and brushed a stray lock of hair from his forehead, my fingers lingering just a second too long. His eyes closed at the touch, then opened slowly, dark and intense. "Do you want me to stop?" he asked, voice low but trembling just a bit. I shook my head. No words necessary. Slowly, deliberately, he moved closer, and the heat it impressed against my skin was nothing like I expected. It wasn't just desire. It was a fierce, tender kind of need that made my breath catch. Our lips met, softly at first, hesitant, like testing the waters. Before everything inside me unraveled, his hands found my waist, steady and sure, pulling me closer without rushing, without forcing. Every touch was electric, sending waves of warmth through me. The world outside faded until it was just us, two people on the edge of something powerful and new. We didn't say much, but the silence spoke volumes. When he leaned back just enough to look into my eyes, there was something so raw, so honest in his gaze that I felt tears prick at the corners of mine. "I've wanted this for so long," he whispered. "Me too," I admitted. And in that moment, we both understood this wasn't just about curiosity or attraction anymore. It was about connection, about trust, about letting someone see you, all of you, and still choosing to stay. The rest of the night passed in soft touches, whispered promises, and the kind of closeness that made me believe in something real, something lasting. The morning light spilled softly through the blinds, casting golden stripes across the room where we lay tangled together. There was no rush, no urgent need to move or speak, just the warmth of his body pressed against mine, steady breaths sinking like a quiet rhythm. I traced lazy circles on his chest, feeling the rise and fall with each heartbeat. His skin was warm beneath my fingers, inviting and familiar. He turned his head, eyes half closed but shining with something tender and new. "Last night," he began, voice husky, "felt like something I didn't know I needed." I smiled, leaning up just enough to brush my lips against his temple. "Me too," I whispered. We stayed like that for a while, wrapped in silence in each other's presence, where words weren't necessary. But eventually, he traced a gentle finger along my jawline, tilting my face up to meet his gaze. "I want to know everything about you," he said quietly. "Not just this, all of it." His honesty made my chest ache with something like hope. For once, I wasn't just a roommate or a secret. I was seen. I was wanted. I reached out and tucked a stray strand of hair behind his ear, my touch lingering. "Then let's take it slow," I said softly, "and really learn each other." His smile was small but genuine, the kind that reaches the eyes and warms your soul. In that moment, everything felt possible. Like this was only the beginning. We didn't rush. Not that night. The space between us was charged but calm, like the calm before a storm you want to last forever. He caught my hand, fingers curling around mine like he was afraid I might slip away. I looked up at him, searching his eyes for the same mix of nerves and certainty I felt inside. He leaned in slowly, his lips grazing my skin, barely a kiss, but it sent shivers down my spine. I breathed in, steadying myself, and for the first time, I let all my walls fall. Every touch, every glance was careful, deliberate, like we were learning a new language together, one spoken without words. We fit, not just physically, but in a way that went deeper than I ever expected. Time stretched. The world shrunk until it was just the two of us wrapped in quiet, tender warmth. And when we finally pulled apart, neither of us eager to break the spell, I knew it wasn't just about that night. It was about what came after. About trust, about connection, about knowing someone saw all of you and still wanted to stay. I smiled against his chest, and he tightened his hold. No words needed. This was ours.